it's respecting the.
Sorry, just click record. Carry on, Jenny.
Oh no, there's
Where'd
no
you shut up?
going to start with me yakking away.
Sorry, carry on. Tell us about, what you were saying about the vessel, and I think it's really important.
Stopped. You've paused me.
Oh, sorry.
No, I think it's about the material I was talking about. It's about the fact that when we talk about ceramics, we instantly assume it has a function. And when you go into the multi-layering, you're respecting the material itself and seeing what it can and can't do. And I think there's two differences there.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely right. And ceramic, it does have this history of being a functional material, but now it isn't. It's a material that you can use for sculpture. It's a material you can use for art. It's just a material. It's got a legacy which you can acknowledge or you can step aside from. But I think but also, like, the things that I was looking at today, it doesn't have to be about denying function. It could be that you can take elements of what we were looking at and add them to a functional form. I'd love to see a Claire Scott piece that included slip trail work that was on a plaster bat.
Especially your beautiful handwriting as well.
Yeah. Claire, if you took any of the techniques that we've looked at today, what would you do with them? Does anything kind of come to mind? You think, oh, I could try that? Claire, on the spot.
I do really like the idea of the plaster bat and creating thin, the thin sort of pieces that you could put elements together, sort of in maybe a largish form. I've sort of got a bit of an idea of what I want to do backtracking though. I've got a really cool idea of with the corrugated bottles. What I really want to do when I get my mojo back, because my mojo's gone and I haven't done any potting for a week or so, just because I sort of did a big build up before open houses and I've sort of having a bit of a break. But I wanted to roll. I've got some jumbo bubble wrap and I wanted to put porcelain over it and roll it quite thinly to get like circles that are thinner in the jumbo pieces of the bubble wrap, but build big soft forms like the soft forms of the corrugated cardboard.
Yeah.
My idea in my head is to do some sheets of clay, like thin porcelain, paper clay or porcelain, and then hopefully it will slump as well, but get like the texture in there with the bubble wrap as well as the corrugated cardboard. Maybe combine the two, but get some sort of textures going in there. And I've got a large paper carrier bag that I was going to stuff and use as a former, to sort of like shape it around as a sort of splint, because it's so soft, because I worked with the paper porcelain bottles when they were very soft and squashy to get that squishiness.
I love the squishiness, that fluidity, wouldn't you? The softness of it. Yeah.
And I love that today. What I really love about all of that is the slumping and the squishiness. I love that sort of organic kind of squashy form.
Yeah,
really
it's interesting that and like we were saying earlier, is it's left to the kiln to a certain extent to do that, and that's quite scary. That letting go. It's a bit like you, Claire, honey. You're gonna have to let your son go to this party and just see what happens.
I love it. I do love the letting go. Like with wool, it's the same with sort of watercolor, or you can't control it. It's nice not having control and getting.
But of course, I mean, I'm forgetting that you do this open form and slumping all the time with your wool, your knitted pieces.
And the bottle, the bottles that I like most were the ones that I assembled while they were soft. and they literally look like they're not rigid. They look quite fabric-like. I love that. I think it goes back to my course in looking at that chap who, Clive Soldenberg, who did those soft sculptures. Always just something about them that I love, that he did like rigid sort of objects, but then created them in these soft, floppy. It's like
and it works with the material of clay as well, doesn't it? Because clay, like it's a soft material, you know, and it often doesn't operate at its best when you're trying to get very crisp, hard edges. It's at its best when there's a fluidity to it, I think.
It's like a contradiction of what you're expecting, isn't it? Which is, I think, what's so nice is the contradiction of the material and how it actually looks. Is
because and with your forms that are soft, you expect them to feel soft when you pick them up, but they're actually kind of completely hard and kind of tinny sounding, and you know, and you get it. Maybe that's one of the things that's a little jarring about Cecilia Copernic. I'm not saying her name right. The woman making the chains, because they have a
Kemperink.
Thank you, Jenny. What she said. They've got a softness to the look of them because of the colours and the forms, but they sound really hard, don't they? They've got this metallic, clinky, sort of slightly grating sound, and maybe that the idea grates as much as the sound.
And the fear, you think that they're going to, I think the fear of knowing they're fragile, it makes you feel slightly on edge because you think they might break.
Yeah. With the one with her feet in them, I keep thinking, oh, don't tread on them.
Or if she trips up.
I'm sure, like Jenny said, she knows how to handle her material. She knows exactly what she's doing. But when you're watching it, there's that danger element, isn't there? Mandy, was there anything in the artists we just looked at that you thought, oh, I could take that away?
I look at Annie Turner's work and I realize I've stopped breathing. I love her work. I adore it. I love it. I've seen it before and I absolutely love it. I do not have the patience in my little finger to even attempt something like her stuff. So I will admire that from afar. But Mimi Young, I really liked that. And in fact, during our 5-minute break, I Googled her, and I've I've used casting slip on several occasions in kind of several. I made it doesn't matter. I made a mold out of a spoon I bought in Thailand, and I started making a lot of different spoons. This is years ago, it's about 5 years ago. And I started making a load of different spoons with different clays and different mediums using that one mold, the plaster mold. I'd made it in Sutton with Faye. And I did a few with casting slip, and I did a few with different clays. And I love casting slip. There's something I haven't quite sort of explored its potential yet, but I really, really like casting slip. So seeing her stuff and making, I loved every single one of those forms. I loved. And I'm just kind of thinking that's the sort of thing a girl could sort of sit gently in a little room and with a I've got a beautiful, very nice slip trailer, and I could get some fresh casting slip and just little doodles with that. So yeah, really like her stuff, big time.
Yeah, there's something very doable, that feels doable about it. I'm not sure it's immensely skilled, but there's that sense you look at it and go, oh, I want to try that one. No, and I think you should, Mandy. I can really see that.
I can see you, and that sort of almost mirrors the mosaics as well, doesn't it? It's that sort of, there's something that connects the two together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And yeah, exactly that. I got quite fired up about that. So I will I will explore.
Good. I really liked her spirals, or the kind of round platforms as much as the vessels. I thought that's really quite interesting, and the idea of it being a line of text as well, sort of out. That's really well done.
And also the ones I saw, she's playing about with the colours as well. She's doing that gradient thing that the chain lady did, and just being able to play about with those grades of colour, and really nice. Loved her.
Yeah, a lot of these things work really well without glades, don't they? With just the colour of clay. Although the final work that I showed had a glaze sprayed on it, but and Tessa Eastman's work was almost weighed down by the glaze. I think that's one of the things that I find less appealing about her work. Although I think the colours are exciting. I feel like it's weighed down a bit by the glaze, just the shininess of it. It's almost unnecessary, I think, but maybe that's part of what she's trying to convey. Look, I'm not going to do. Sorry, Claire. Go on, Claire.
Sorry, I was going to say it can make or break a piece. The glaze, can't it? It can really take away from it, especially if it's shiny.
Yeah.
It seems.
Yeah, it's such a dangerous moment you put glaze on something, because you've spent so long making this piece, you've got it through the bisque firing, and now you're going to put a glaze on it, and it can really ruin a piece. And this is why testing is so important. You have to really understand your glaze and know what it's going to look like and be sure. But even so, it can so easily kind of change, even if it doesn't dripped and it hasn't cracked or crawled, it can still just end up making the piece look leaden or overly shiny glazes that are a problem, I think, for sculptural pieces in particular.
It's like even with the slip coloured pieces, I always like it at its bisque stage, or when the glaze is in its powder form on the piece in a pastel colour, and then when it's fired, it's like it always grates on me a bit. Having that shininess, it's a shame you can't recreate that look.
I think that's one of the things that is really appealing about Phoebe Cummings's work. She's the one who makes the floral arrangements but doesn't fire the mist, because they retain that softness of the unfired clay. That which you just can't really mimic. Although, having said that, what's her name?
Kay, are you thinking about that? Kay, the other one who does the sort of the artichokes and the
Kaori Tatibayashi. Yeah, there's still a softness to that, isn't there? Yeah, and maybe it's the color, that slightly buff color. Yeah. But I'm thinking there's only been one time when I can remember looking at some clay and thinking it wasn't fired, and it was, and it was someone who'd studied at Forest Row, and she's from Switzerland. Damn it, what's her name? It's Cordelia Houseman, is it?
I can't remember her surname, but I know it was Cordelia. She went with Maria, didn't she? I went to the final show. She does those amazing meticulous threads. Her pieces are so meticulously thrown, aren't they? The porcelain. They're like.
Sorry, it's Cornelia.
Cornelia.
Cornelia Hofstadter. So she throws pieces using coloured clay, and increasingly she has been using glazes, but there's a softness to the form that she throws. She deliberately puts a lilt into the throwing to create this softness. But some of her, if you look through her Instagram, some of her earlier pieces that have got coloured clay are just there's a real softness in real life. Some of them, they just look like they've still got that freshness of unfired clay.
How do you spell her surname? Sorry.
Hofstetter.
Oh, I got it. Thank you.
Cornelia Hofstetter, craft in clay.
Got
She's
it.
really nice, but incredibly talented maker. Yeah, but there's such a softness to what she's the way she's. It's the combination of the colours that she uses that she's added to porcelain. So it's that off-white or off blues and the softness and the lack of glaze and the softness of the throwing technique and just yes. But normally you can tell instantly, you know, if something's fired or not fired, but that I think she's really captured something. Anyway, I feel like I should do a demo, so I'm just going to do a very quick thing, and just you know, it's not it won't be anything unexpected. I'm going to try and switch over. Let's see if the tech works. So what I hate is when it comes out that, oh good, there we go, right, so ta-da. My magic, here is some so I've made these pieces to create a something similar to this this sort of outline of a brick form, and with this I didn't smooth over the joins. They're very kind of blunt. I don't know where can I get it so it focus. Can you see? Yeah. Oh, dirty fingernails. I can never get it quite in the right place. Tell me if you can see.
Yeah, I can see. That's it.
Yeah, very very blunt edging, not to sort of not smoothed in. It was really just to kind of make the process visible, really. I didn't want it to be trying to hide how it was made. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So I've got my little bits I'm going to make, and I've got them to a point where I can pick it up, and it's not bending. So if it was bending, it would be more difficult to attach. But it's still a bit cold. It's still got water in it. It's still got that. It's not bone dry. This is a bit that I made earlier to do a different thing with, and it started to go much whiter at the end than it is at the other end, and so I can tell it's got bone dry there, so it's gone too far, whereas this is still usable, but you know, it keeping its shape, that's the important thing. And this is one of the things with ceramics, it's kind of getting it to that exact moment where you're ready to work with it, that exact state. So I'm going to do some scoring and slipping, and hopefully I'll try and keep it all on camera. So I've got a little bit of water that I've just dipped the knife blade on. Can you see it's just slightly shiny? And I'm just going to score the end there, and I'm going to just, so this bit's smaller, and this has started to get drier than I want it to be, so I'm going to have to work to keep that. So what you can do is you can, to keep things in a certain state, is you can have a tray with some newspaper in it that you spray, or use a sponge. Spray is better. So that you can keep things in the state that you want them to be. So I'll just put my little bits in there so that they've got a bit of a moist environment for them to sit in. Right, so I just scored with a little water on the knife, and then just wiggle those two bits together. And then with a little bit of water on a brush, but really just so it's very damp, not wet, not dripping. Then I can just run the brush over the surface, and that will tidy up that sort of bit of slurry that's been created, and also sort of tidy up the join. So that's my first join.
That's worked really well, the brush, hasn't it? It's taken all the...
Yeah, it's almost too well, but it's created a nice join there. So so now I'm going to, I just want to slightly tidy that end up so that it will fit. So you can see the wetness of the blade just soaks in a little bit into the MDF board that I'm working on. MDF board is ideal for working with porcelain, I find, because it's got no grain to speak of. So if you're working on a wood board, and you roll something out, the porcelain will pick up the grain of the wood board, and the same with Hessian, or any kind of even quite tightly woven cotton. You'll still get that fabric print coming out, whereas MDF it doesn't transfer because it's such a fine grain. So again, I've just done that little wiggle. Do you remember I always say about the little wiggle? I'm joining things, and then with the brush. So it's really important not to go in there with a wooden tool, because you just mess it up. But I can get a really nice finish on the join there. So, and the other thing that's good about MDF is it's got a slight absorbency. So my slightly tidy that edge. So my porcelain pieces won't stick to it, but I can use a sponge or my fingers to wet the surface so that it won't dry too much. It won't dry the pieces underneath it. So that that gives it a bit of extra kind of you can just sit it on there. But moving it about, I'm kind of messing up my little joins there. So I'll have to try not to move it about too much and not get it too wet as well. Too much water on the joins will really mess those up. So it's like damp but not wet. That's what you want. And then I'll just do this final piece on this side here. So I've dampened the blade, and then I'll just score the ends. How do you guys feel about working on a small scale like this? Do you think, oh no, I can't be bothered with that, it's too fiddly? Or do you think, oh yeah, that'll be all right?
I'm gonna give it a try.
It's interesting because all these things you can apply to different, when all these techniques are great to learn, because you never know when you might want to apply them to something that you're making. It's still really relevant because, you know, like say through sculpture or something, and you want to incorporate something.
Yeah, I think, I mean, one of the things that I like to teach on the wheel is throwing small things off the hump, because I think it teaches a lightness of touch. You can learn how very small movements of your hand make a big difference to the piece, and that can translate back when you're making bigger pieces. You can translate that delicacy back, and I think, you know, I kind of feel that's the same here, that it can teach you to be careful with your handling of things, and to take care and think about how, you know, little movements can make a big difference. So there you go. So I've got
really
sorry?
I sort of really enjoy throwing off the hump.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to do, isn't it? So I've got the base frame for my piece, and then I'm going to start to build it up. Now I'm not going to do the whole thing because we'll be here too long, but I just wanted to show you and this is where Annie Turner's process sort of resonated a bit with me. I was thinking about how she starts to create the three-dimensional form. And with this upright bit that I'm going to add, I'm actually going to score both ends first, because if I imagine trying to score it while it's sticking up like that, it's going to make it wobble about too much. So I need to think ahead a little bit. But I can start to fit my first upright on there, give it a little wiggle. And can you see that I don't know if you can see some of the sort of bit of slurry that has kind of oozed out, and that's where the brush comes back in, just to smooth that around.
I suppose as you're building it up, you'd have to let that piece dry more before you put on your extra pieces.
Well, actually, it's actually quite firm, and it will support the weight. But I think probably it's the join that's not the firm bit. So the piece itself has got a bit of strength to it. Okay. But the join, having wetted the join, that's where it needs to dry. But it's tricky, especially with porcelain, because it can dry so quickly, and really once it's bone dry, it's too late. You then can't score the surface if it's still got a little bit of dampness in it, which you can feel from the if it's still a bit cold, and you can also see if it's still a bit darker compared to bone dry pieces. But if it's bone dry, it's gone too far. But if it's cheese hard or leather hard, you've got room to sort of start to work with it. And some pieces, like so that's the start of me creating the next layer up. So I can move that, but I'm just looking at say this bit here. It's leather hard, so it's kind of quite firm. But I'm going to see if I can do it. It might not work. It's one of those tomorrow's world moments. Elaine's world. Will it work? Will it not work? So I'm putting a little bit of water just on the middle section, just to see. So what in theory should happen now is that should loosen up the piece, and I should be able to then bend it without it cracking, especially if I kind of coax it. So have any of you seen videos of Mandy's favourite potter, Justine Allison, who is obviously a proper potter compared to...
Proper potter.
Not that I'm scarred by that comment at all. But, have you seen videos of her making her pots?
No.
So she usually just posts those really fast ones. You know, that they're kind of annoying, where somebody's like speed making, because they filmed it in normal time, but then speeded it up.
So you can't tell what they're doing.
Can't quite tell what they're doing, but there's a bit where you see her with the brush, where she's so she creates the sides of the pieces with what looks like really very solid, not solid, stiff clay, and you think, well, how is she then going to bend it to make the top, because they're bent over rather than bent over rather than sort of straight. And if I show you, like say with my hand, what you see her doing is getting this stiff, otherwise stiff bit and brushing a bit of water on, and I think it's that then enables her to bend it over. So that's kind of what I've done with that. Is this was stiff, and if I had tried to, you know, it was like this bit, and if I just tried to do it on its own, it's going to break like that. But with a bit of water, I can then sort of almost reanimate it, almost sort of bring it back into that bendable state.
Elane, forgive me. I'm going to have to go. My eyes are going again.
Oh, sorry, Mandy. Well, we're stopping there anyway. We're stopping there.
Bless you. No, don't let me stop it early. I'll just dip out, okay?
Oh, will you take care, love?
All right, my darlings. I love you all. I'll see you soon. Big love.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that's horrible. Isn't it?
Oh,
Andy.
well, I was finishing there. So yeah, I'll just quickly go back to that. But so you can see where it's going with that, can't you? And that it's sort of starting to create that form that I can then build on. And what I would do next is actually build the long frame here again for the top bit, but not attempt to build it on top of here. Build it on the table. So I've got my two long bits, and
then attach the two together.
Two short bits.
See, that's a good idea,
and
isn't
then
it?
if I move this up a bit, then I'll try and do this without it falling apart. Then turn this over and attach.
Okay.
Yeah. And if that other one had little legs, would you have the little legs first too?
Yeah. Yeah. So on this one, I would add the two other legs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I would be able to use gravity to my advantage to fix it to the bottom part.
Would you make
perfect? Yeah.
You wouldn't make two little tables then and join them together. You wouldn't do like the other one with legs on top.
Oh, I see. So you're doing that action.
Yeah. Do another table like the other one, and then put the other one on top. I suppose it depends what you're making. So you've got two layers. So say
no, I think I see what you mean, but I think the difficulty would be you'd have let's see if I can get it. You'd have your two legs.
Yeah.
And then you'd be trying to meet them in the middle, and that wouldn't be a very strong join. So you just have a longer piece. You just have a longer leg if that's what you wanted.
No, I'm completely reading something else.
Oh, right, sorry, Claire. No, go on. Try and explain to me.
So say you've got two little tables with their legs sticking up in the air.
Yeah.
And then you take the one in front and stick it on top of the other one. So the triangle of the one in front sticks onto the little legs of that one.
Jenny, can you do a diagram of what Claire's saying?
Trying to work it out. Are you trying to say that, Claire?
No, this is really
Are
terrible.
you trying
Sorry,
to
I'm such a natural thinker. Let me show you what I mean. Hang on, I'll draw it. So say you've got that's my brain. So you'd have like two tables.
Or is she saying that?
I'm saying that. No, I'm saying that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh,
So
so
you're
you're stacking them.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
My
Right.
brain. I was thinking we'd stack them up if you were going to do lands or.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you were still trying to create the box shape. That's why I think that's what Elaine was getting at as well.
It goes off at a total lateral tangent. A lot of
Yeah. So it's keeping going. That's what you're saying. So it keeps.
Yeah, we could create tables if you were going to stack.
Yes, I understand now. Yes, indeed, you can certainly do that. Yeah, so you build your each piece and then stack them up. Yeah. You would also. I'm going to run out of power in a sec. You can also. You would need to keep each piece slightly damp, so you'd need a bit of plastic to do that. But
I love the idea of the tray with the damp newspaper in. That was a really good tip, and the MDF board as well.
Yeah. So you have to be aware that the MDF is a bit absorbent, but you can use that to your advantage. But this is just a really nice way to just, and you know, if it's small, if they're flat, I mean, obviously with my table in, I need a taller thing, but I was able to make these last night, put the damp paper in, put the lid on, and even though my kiln was on,
Gosh.
They stayed too wet actually. So it's a really that's kind of like a miniature version of how I store my pots.
Cool.
Anyway, so
that's really interesting.
Some really good tips in there. Thank you. Brilliant.
I did my homework. I made an ammonite sprig.
Oh, fantastic!
Fab.
Oh wow! Oh, hang on. Let me spotlight you.
Oh no!
Yes. Wow, and that's going to look great. So, have you tried it on a piece?
I made some other ones. I made that one as well, but I don't think this will work because it's a bit too fancy. They're not fired yet because I haven't been able to put my kiln on. And I also made a little alternative image of the little leaf that I scratched in the bottom of
You'll have
oh yeah.
Sorry, I'll
send us photos of those because it's not coming out.
Yeah. Put photos on WhatsApp for us, Claire, please.
They're not that interesting, but I did.
But they are. They are though.
Did make you.
We've lost Elaine now. It's just you and I,
Sorry,
Claire.
I'm here. I just
I'm pinned. How do I pin myself?
Right. Need to plug in or we'll do the recording. So yes, okay, we're back in the room. Right, brilliant. Okay, well, so I'm going to stop there. But I hope that was useful.
That was really. Can I be unpinned, Elaine, at the end?
Sorry. We'll go back to the gallery view. Sorry, Claire.
I'm like, please unpin me. Please unpin me and my voice.
What you could do, maybe you could get like once a voice changing mask, so Claire, your voice is lovely. There's absolutely nothing wrong with your voice.
You can get Darth Vader ones. I'll come on as that next week.
Come on as Darth Vader next time then, without explanation. Just. Oh God! Right.
Thank you very, very much for that. Thank you.
That was really lovely. It's always great to see everybody.
I know.
Highlight.
Well, we're okay. Well, I'll keep it exciting. We'll do something different, very different next week. And
Okay.
It's just lovely. It's lovely to see you anyway. And
it's lovely to see
it's
you.
nice.
all.
And
Yeah,
our random conversations about things. And, yeah.
love those. Always love those. All
Oh,
right, guys. Well, I hope to see you all next week. And
Yeah.
brilliant.
Thank
yeah,
you.
see you
Thank
soon.
you. Take care.
Thank
Take
you
care.
very
Bye.
much. Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.